Welcome back to the newsroom here at France 24. In today's focus, we're going behind the scenes at a facility that's been billed as a NATO spy school. The Human Intelligence Center opened in March in Romania. The Romanian president said it was set up to counter new security threats against the North Atlantic Alliance. But the center is also seen as a sign that Romania is cementing its position within NATO and the West. In a moment, we'll discuss the role of intelligence in today's security landscape. First, though, let's take a look at this report. A team from France 24 was the first camera crew to gain access to the facility in Romania.
Welcome to Spy School. A new generation of secret agents is being trained here in the Romanian city of Oradea. This is NATO's Human Intelligence Center, not a place to open its doors easily to strangers. In fact, this is the first time a television camera has been allowed inside the training facility.
Military personnel from NATO member states receive training here before being sent to conflict areas where NATO is involved, such as Kosovo and Afghanistan.
Their job is to dig up strategic information, often in the middle of a war zone. It's meticulous undercover work that helps to shape NATO's more visible operations, and the training center staff are suitably proud of the role they play.
We want to be the point of reference for NATO in terms of military intelligence.
It's no accident that NATO chose to establish the Spy Academy in Romania. For almost half a century, the United States and Western Europe were wary of communist Romania's secret services. Ion Ioana has worked in counterintelligence for over 20 years, before and after the fall of former dictator Nicolae Ceausescu.
Romanian intelligence services had great success because they invested in human intelligence. We didn't have the West's sophisticated technology, yet there are still things we can teach to Western countries. You won't hear many people admitting this, but our intelligence services yielded excellent results.
2 decades after the end of communist rule, Romania has done a full U-turn, seeking integration into what used to be the Western Bloc. Romanian President Traian Băsescu has spared no effort in demonstrating his loyalty to the United States and NATO. He's allowed Washington to establish 4 new military bases and set up anti-missile facilities on the Black Sea coast. Many Oradea residents are proud to have a NATO training facility in their backyard.
This academy is attracting foreigners who come and train here, and that's good for our city.
Oradea may be a quiet Transylvanian town, but it's very firmly on the map when it comes to military intelligence.
For more now on the need of this type of academy, we turn to George Frederick Dewsbury. He's from the Center of Russian World, Caucasus and Central European Studies, which is based here in Paris. Thanks very much for speaking to us.
Good morning.
First of all, good morning. Is there really a need then for this type of school? It sounds like a remnant almost from the Cold War.
There is a need because the nature of warfare has changed. Before we used to have states fighting states, and now we have non-state actors who blend in with the population, who don't move in large military units, and fighting, of course, modern technological forces. It's much harder to get intelligence. So you have to have some way to penetrate that, and you have to use, shall we say, not normal ways of doing this. Yeah.
Well, when the Romanian president opened this center, he talked about new security threats that are facing the North Atlantic Alliance. What did he mean by that? It sounds like you're saying that he meant non-state actors.
That's right. That's right. It's the larger rubric of terrorism. Now, terrorism's easier to say than define, but basically we refer to people who are non-state actors who want to make a maximum public impact by dramatic actions, and who are hard to trace. And so you need a new kind of intelligence, and it's human intelligence. Satellites are fine for picking up tanks and airplanes and things like that. And signal intercepts are fine if they're talking on telephones. But the people that NATO is working against are much more clever than that. So there's has to be some way to penetrate into that group, yeah.
But what do these new agents actually do in this kind of school? I mean, how do you become James Bond, basically?
Well, first of all, you're not James Bond. You're a military person, and military intelligence is becoming closer and closer to the James Bond kind of espionage. Basically, I don't know. I don't know the curriculum. But I would imagine that it's going to be more on small groups, elite groups, special forces groups, going into the countryside, being able to speak the languages, and because they're not Americans, being able to establish a relationship with the local population better than, say, you send a bunch of rather large Americans going in with their guns firing. Yeah.
Where will these agents be sent then? I mean,
Afghanistan right
Afghanistan.
now. And maybe a bit on Iraq, but this is part of the changing face of NATO. And there's an Allied Command Transformation Center, which is at Norfolk in Virginia, which is headed by a French Air Force General, Stéphane Abrial. And he is in charge of establishing these centers of excellence, of which Oradia is one. That's the 17th of the 18. And they deal with things from chemical warfare to non-traditional use of military forces in difficult terrain. But it's all toward adapting to this new form of warfare.
What do you make of the fact that this facility has been set up in Romania?
Well, the Romanians like that sort of thing. They've been working closely with the Americans for some time. In fact, some would say even before the fall of Ceausescu, there have been elements of the Romanian government who were in contact with Washington. For Romania, NATO is modernization, it's investment. As your report mentioned, there are going to be 4 American bases there, and of course the anti-ballistic missile system, which is going to be in Poland, is now going to be put in Romania and Bulgaria. This is kind of Ceausescu's way of having a safety net against the always perceived Russian bear who's out there, even though the Russian bear is very nice these days.
Now, there are some rumblings, though, that Romania agreed to having this center on its soil, or rather that the United States, among others, wanted the center on Romanian soil because of the fact that a secret detention center run by the CIA was in Romania during the war on terror, during George W. Bush's rule. Do you think there's any meat to that claim?
Well, you know, these were called the rendition centers, where nations either let their airspace be used, or in places like Lithuania and Romania, ex-Yugoslavia, there were places where, shall we say, extreme means were used to get information from captured people. The official line is that the Romanian parliament passed the law to establish the center in June of 2008, and then it was accredited by NATO earlier this year, and now it's functioning. But who invited the Romanian parliament to do that? You know, I'm sure that the Romanians have proven themselves in the past 20 years to be good allies in this sense for the Americans.
I was just going to say, of course, Romania sees this as a sign that we are now part of NATO. We are now in firmly the Western camp.
Oh, very much so. Oh, very much so. Even though there are some people in the European Union who are rather sad by the lack of progress made in Romania for the fight against corruption and that sort of thing. But one step at a time.
All right. Thanks very much, George Frederick Dewsbury, for coming in to us and speaking to us today here at France 24. And with that, we're going to wrap up this edition of Focus. Thanks very much indeed for watching us. And do stay with us here at France 24. We'll bring you more news in just a moment. So don't go away.